I feel good. Thank you for that. I just spent the morning in courtroom 2. I've been trying to keep up with the tweeting, for those of you on Twitter, but I took some notes of a few points I'd like to summarize, just to give you an update of how I think it's going in court. I want to tell you a couple of things that I found unusual, or maybe even disturbing. The Attorney General has hired a QC named Mr. Caldecott, and he is putting the prosecution's case. And time and again, he came back to what Tommy Robinson said to the rapists as they walked into the courtroom on their judgment day. And I don't know if you saw the video that day, but Tommy simply said, "How do you feel about the verdict?" That's all he said. He didn't swear at them, he didn't insult them, he did not say you are guilty, he didn't prejudge them. He simply said, "How do you feel about your verdict?" And they either ignored him or they swore at him and insulted his wife and his mother. But that's it, and I put it to you, that is more gentle than anything the mainstream media does to Tommy as he goes into court. Okay, we know that, but let me tell you what Mr. Caldecott, the prosecutor, said again and again and again in court today. He said that what Tommy Robinson did to those rapists by simply saying, "How do you feel about the verdict today?" Mr. Caldecott, the lawyer hired by the Attorney General to prosecute Tommy Robinson, said that Tommy Robinson had molested those rapists. I swear to God, he used the word molestation again and again and again. He just wouldn't stop using the word molestation. Tommy Robinson said, the prosecutor, "It's the molester." Not one hard word about the rapists themselves. I listened intently to the prosecutor, and not once did he call the rapists of children molesters. He was concerned about their feelings. He called Tommy a molester. He said, molestation. He said that again and again. And I thought, mate, if only you put the effort and the resources in prosecuting actual molestation, maybe Britain would be a bit safer for children. Go on, Ezra! Unbelievable. I want to give you two more short anecdotes from court before I go back in. There was this laughable moment when Mr. Caldecott, the prosecutor, said to Tommy, "Well, didn't you know you couldn't do this because there were no other mainstream media reporting on these rapists? So, didn't you know you couldn't? Wasn't that an indication to you that you shouldn't?" As if the mainstream media were the arbiters of what's news or not. As if they haven't engaged in a 20-year cover-up of these rape games. As if they accurately reflect what's important and newsworthy. As if they weren't just the fake news smearers. I got a real laugh out of that, because the logic was, if the state broadcaster, if the government journalists at the state broadcaster BBC don't think something's news, then it ain't news. But stay with me one moment, because that's what Mr. Caldecott said. "Tommy, you should have been guided by what your competitors were doing." Okay. Let us, for the sake of argument, accept that faulty logic. But then tell me, Mr. Caldecott, when the BBC, when the local newspapers continued to have on their websites, publishing every day, the name, age, description, and address of the accused rapists, that Tommy read from their websites. If Tommy Robinson is supposed to censor himself because the mainstream media isn't talking about something, if that's the logic we're using, well then cannot Tommy Robinson rely on the mainstream media who that very day was publishing those names? I don't think you can suck and blow at the same time. I think, and isn't that the situation here? The BBC, to this day, has never taken down the names and identities of those accused rapists. But only Tommy was thrown in prison for it. Let me close with one last anecdote. This was near the very end. There you go. This was near the very end of the prosecution's remarks. I tell you, he wasted so much time on arcana, on details that I think he was trying to pull together a pile of feathers. He had no case. I was embarrassed for him, frankly. At a certain point, professional ethics. I mean, I believe everyone deserves a lawyer, even a murderer. Our system depends on a lawyer to be there for a murderer. But I think professional ethics at a certain point in time, a lawyer, especially an esteemed lawyer, has to say to a client, "You've got no case, mate, and I'm not gonna push a string." And I think Mr. Caldecott should have declined this disgraceful commission. But let me tell you, after listening to him blather on about nothing for 2 hours, he said something. He said to the judges what might happen if Tommy Robinson were let go. He said that Tommy believes in something called people's journalism. And he said, what happens, Your Honor, if that people's journalism were to continue? Other people might do it too. Tommy Robinson encourages them. And finally we heard the real argument of the Attorney General. This was not about contempt of court. This was not an attempt to smear Tommy as someone who engages in molestation. That was just a throwaway insult. This is their fear that the monopoly on public conversation is coming to an end. And as I look out here, there must be 30 cell phones videoing me right now, and you know what? Every one of you is a people's journalist. Yeah! Every one of you is a broadcaster. Every one of you is a reporter. And I gotta tell you, I trust any one of you more than I trust the overpaid wankers at the CBC or the Guardian. My friends, oh, come on, guys. Come on. I just want to say, we don't say wankers in Canada. So I've got to say that word while I'm here in the UK. All right. Well, I'm going to go back in now. The court will resume at 2 p.m. I think that Mr. Furlong, Tommy's lawyer, will probably take about an hour to finish. And I understand that he may be playing a video to demonstrate the double standard that I've illustrated. Yeah! What the mainstream media can do. I'll see about that. I think it's likely that the judges will not issue their judgment today. I don't know, but if I had to guess, I'd say they would want to be very careful about it. They would want to take this very complicated matter and do a good job. And I support that. And let me remind you that there is still justice in the United Kingdom. And I say this as a critic, because think about it. The last 4 judges in a row to look over Tommy's matter have sided with him. In Leeds, that disgraceful day in May 2018, in a drumhead trial lasting 10 minutes, a judge disgraced himself and brought the administration of justice into disrepute by packing off a free man to prison in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But ever since then, justice has been on the march. It's marching too slowly, it's marching too costly, but it's got its boots laced up now, and it's marching. The next 3 judges to treat the case were the Court of Appeal, chaired by no one less than the Lord Chief Justice of England and Wales. And he chaired a unanimous panel that sprung Tommy from prison and tore a strip off that rogue judge in Leeds. The next judge to hear the case had an ancient title, the Recorder of London, and this is his turf. And when he was asked by the Attorney General to proceed against Tommy, he said, "I will not. I'll throw it back to the Attorney General. They can take this mess." He actually gave the Attorney General a way out, but they came back in. 4 judges in a row have said they don't want any part of this. And now you have 2 more judges. And they look very sober, as they always do with the wigs. But the Dame Scott, is that her last name? Andrew? Is it the female judge? Sharp, excuse me. Dame Sharp? I understand she's the head of the Queen's Bench. I think she's the top judge of that circuit in the entire United Kingdom, if I'm right. Is that right, Andrew? That is a very serious position. The other judge, Justice Warby, these are serious judges in the most serious court in the city. And if any judge is going to take this seriously and look to the law instead of look to the editorial page of the Guardian newspaper, I think it might just be these 2 people. I'm not an optimist, but I think that the case is so damn weak and the Attorney General's lawyer has so debased himself that these serious judges who should be spending their time on terrorism and rape gangs and murders, I think they will tell the Attorney General where to go. Yeah. My friends, thank you for your support. I will be back in now. Good luck and keep fighting for freedom.